Welcome. This video tutorial focuses on Pivot System Administrators Training. We will be going over some of the settings in your Pivot site so that you are able to manage the settings easily. Today I am using our Michigan demo site and I'm going to log in as a Pivot Administrator. The first thing I want you to notice is that your name will appear in the top right corner. Beside it in the square will be your initials. When you click that, you'll be able to see what user level is assigned to your account. This is a Pivot Administrator, so it says Admin. You'll notice here there is first name and last name, email address. You can make changes to that as long as you are using database authentication. LDAP and Google authentication users will need to contact their tech department for any name changes, email changes, and password changes. Back at the square, you'll notice the little bubble above the initials. When you click that, that will display our Pivot change log. Anytime there's a change made in Pivot, we will notify you in this area. You can click the link to see all of our historical changes. The bell also shows notifications. However, those are personal notifications. An example would be an evaluator would receive a notification here if a growth plan had been submitted for approval. If you click the question mark, that will take you to our knowledge base website. In this area, you will be able to search for user guides, print them out. You're also able to suggest a feature. You're able to submit a help desk ticket or to check the status of your ticket. In this area here, you can also register for our free webinars. This phone number here is the phone number that you can call for Pivot help. The things that we've discussed so far, all administrators, super users, teacher users, and students have all of these things, except students do not have the question mark. Pivot administrators have a bonus icon. This gear confirms that you are a Pivot administrator, and when you click that, you are given two new ribbons of menu choices. The first one I want to discuss is General and Options. This shows you how your site is set up. It shows you what authentication type you are. If you have LDAP, you can change your server information here if needed. If you have a roster sync, this will display your roster sync information. One thing that's become important with this recent Pivot update is the school calendar. You're able to come in here and adjust your school calendar at any time. For staff evaluation modules, this will tell you when your Pivot site will roll over to the next year. If you need to make a change, you simply just click on the section that you need to change and select the date. This is our demo site, so I'm not allowed to make any changes. Most of your time will be spent in the user area. In this area, you are able to create new users by clicking this box here. Again, if you are LDAP or Google authentication, new users can be created through that authentication process, or you can create their account here, just making sure that it matches everything in your Active Directory. So we have the new user account button here, export accounts, that creates a CSV file of all the users in your site. You can search for certain users. You can filter by user roles. You can show disabled users. If there are any disabled users in your site, they will be displayed with italicized print. Anywhere in Pivot that you see a pencil, you are able to edit. So I can edit this user account. I could update the name or email, update the SPN. For database users, you can manage your user roles here. You can change to super user, teacher, student, administrator. if this user leaves your district and you no longer need an account in Pivot, we ask that you disable their account instead of delete. Deleting will also remove all of their data. Building assignments can be important as well. So you can select a building assignment here. Database users can also assign passwords. Any changes that you make, you would want to click Update User before clicking out of the screen. Whenever there are columns displayed in Pivot, you're able to sort them. The next area I want to show you is the login report. This report simply tells you when people are logging in to your Pivot site. You can search for a certain name, certain buildings, user roles. You can export this report into a CSV file. Again, you can sort here the columns. Okay, it's a very simple report. Now let's go to the evaluation area. This screen here, the settings screen, shows how your site is set up for evaluations. Any changes made here will change all of your rubric settings. It's not just for one specific area, this is for your whole evaluation module. One common question that we receive is how to restrict or enable evaluators to set their own staff, and that is right in this area. You would just make your change, scroll to the bottom and update settings. Rubrics. From this screen, you're able to create your own custom rubric. You're able to edit a rubric. You can also enable and disable rubrics. We recommend that you disable a rubric if you no longer want it available in your site for evaluators to use. Deleting is only available if there is no data attached to the rubric. The evaluator screen shows all of the users in your site with evaluator licenses. Evaluator staff. This is the Pivot Administrator scene where you can assign staff to evaluators. So I've selected an evaluator. I can click this box and see all of the current assignments for this evaluator. I can turn this back off and see all of the users in your district. So I notice here that Deborah Hunt does not have an evaluator. If I would like to assign Deborah to Susan, I simply just check the box, come over here and select from the drop-down menu, primary, secondary, or none. Primary evaluator means you can do all evaluating and all the functions within the evaluating realm. Secondary evaluator can only perform observations and cannot see any of the observations or evaluations performed by the primary evaluator. You would choose none if you are removing access for an evaluator. So I'll select primary and update. And you'll notice the word primary appears here. I'm going to select this box here for Eugene. I'm going to say none and remove him from Susan's evaluating list. Staff rubrics. You can select a rubric and then select staff members that should be assigned that rubric. And then update. So then when the evaluator selects start observation, they don't have to choose a rubric. The rubric choice is already made for them. Whenever any user uploads a document into Pivot, you can find it in this location. This is the housing for all documents. Staff groups. You are able to add your own staff group. You can edit a staff group. You can activate or inactivate. With the pencil, you can edit. If there is a component that is not listed in this drop-down box, you can create your own. So first, let me save this. We'll go to summative settings, scroll down, add summative components. You can add a description if you would like. I'll go back to staff groups. And select my new component. That concludes our video tutorial. Please contact your account manager if you have any questions. Thanks for joining us.